11, 7, am I supposed to wait? Ciao, ciao a tutti. Benvenuti a un altro appuntamento con i nostri sponsor e oggi è la settimana, quella devo dire la mia preferita, my favorite week is the week that we have Penny!
Yay, we always have so much fun. We love coming
Yes,
into
we
the
do.
studio with you.
Today we've got, it's like celebrity getting out of here.
We're a bit colourful today.
Yes.
So hello to everyone watching on Facebook Live. We're here in Radio Italiana studio, and today we're pretty excited because as well as this like half a tree that I have in front of me, I also have the grower who picked it fresh this morning. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you, Penny.
So Erin is from A.E. Cranwell and Sons, and she has come to join us today to tell us all about a wonderful autumn vegetable that we all love or hate.
Yes,
so this one's divisive. It really, really is. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. So welcome, Erin. Erin Cranwell is from A.E. Cranwell and Sons. Tell everyone, what lines do you guys grow?
So we are Brussels sprout specialists, where 90% of what we grow are Brussels sprouts. We grow a few carrots as well, but we've been growing Brussels sprouts since 1930.
Wow. So Brussels sprouts, people either love them or hate them. So we will get to that. But first, let's tell us a little bit about your farm. Where are you located? And how long have you been growing them?
Yeah, so we're located in the Adelaide Hills and Langhorne Creek region as well. So the growing region for Brussels sprouts in Australia is actually Langhorne Creek, which people don't know, but predominantly South Australia. So we've been growing produce since 1890, but Brussels sprouts since 1930 that we have on record.
Excellent. Now, the thing I love about bringing Erin in here today is, and I've spoken to this about this before, so Brussels sprouts are so divisive. You either love them or you hate them. So this was a conversation that I had with you about 18 months ago, I think it was. So Erin sat with me and I said, oh, you know, Erin, I've got to be honest, like I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Brussels sprouts because my memories of Brussels sprouts when I've been growing up, they were just boiled and you had to eat them. And it's like this little mini cabbage and then they'd go cold and they taste disgusting. And, you know, as an Australian farming family, we just did not cook them correctly. So I met with Erin and I told her this and I was like, yeah, you know, I'm really sorry. And so Erin said to me, what do you like to cook? Like, what sort of styles do you like to cook? And I said, oh, well, you know, I like Mexican. And not thinking anything Brussels sprouts related would come to Mexican. And tell us what you did.
So I found a Mexican recipe because I really think that Brussels sprouts can be incorporated in anything that you enjoy. So it was a great challenge to have. But I found a recipe that included Brussels sprouts shredded, so subbing out your meat for sprouts that were sautéed with some other flavours to add inside a taco.
Yeah, so this is what I really love, and I think there's a real movement towards plant-based diets, and you know, and people that are eating less and less meat and want some substitutes, etc. Even if you're still eating meat, I think people are eating a little bit less of it. So I really love how the next generation of growers are going, okay, well, people don't like it as a boiled cabbage, you know, it's a
understandable
big thing. So let's find some alternatives. So this recipe was amazing. So I had never ever thought about shredding a Brussels sprout and then using it almost like a meat alternative, and it really has a really good texture and consistency to it. So, but you know, there are people that do love Brussels sprouts. Are there many Brussels sprout growers in Australia, or does South Australia really supply a lot of the market?
South Australian supply would take up most of the market. There used to be, back when my dad and my uncle were first in the game, there was something like 50 growers in South Australia, and now there's only 2. Wow. And in season, which is autumn, winter, there's actually only 3 growers in Australia that supply the majority of the crop. So there's been a massive decline on growers because it's quite a hard product to grow and quite labour intensive. But we love it, which is why we still grow it.
Yeah. So you brought in today
a bush.
A
yes.
bush? Is it
yes.
a bush?
It's a Brussels sprout bush or a stalk.
Because people wouldn't perhaps know. So these, how tall do the bushes get?
Yeah, so this morning I actually had a crop inspection down at Langhorne Creek, and I was in bushes that were as tall as me. It's amazing how you can grow them in different conditions, different times of year, depending on how tall they get. So this is probably an average bush, probably 100 sprouts on that bush. But you can get, as tall as us, depending on where you are and what time of year.
And so does a bush just have one pick off of it, or when you pick it, will they regrow for the season?
Yeah, so once we go through, we strip harvest through machines. So it's one pick and then that's done. So that then just gets chopped back into the ground with the stalk.
And so is the stalk useful for anything?
Not really. Back when my grandma was around, she would actually dry stalks out and use them as walking sticks.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean... So there is a use, I suppose, but no, not really. We just chop them back into the ground.
Put them back into the ground. And so you said you grow carrots, but it's primarily Brussels sprouts that you grow. And so as a child growing up on a farm, did you always think, when I get older, I'm going to keep growing these Brussels sprouts?
I never really thought of that so much. I just wanted to get away from the farm, to be honest. Like, I didn't know what was involved until I got older and got involved working after year 12, that I realised what opportunity there was in our family business, which is amazing, that I didn't even see that growing up. But it's quite a hands-on. There's a lot of different roles within it. That's not so get your hands dirty farming side of things. So not really.
And so within the family business, what is the makeup of the family business? Who have you got working in there?
So we'll start at the top. My grandpa, it's actually his birthday today. So he's...
It's actually my dad's birthday today as well. So I should shout out happy birthday. It's a celebration.
11 years in Australia.
There you go.
Amazing. So he turns 88 today, and he still helps us out doing local deliveries to the local supermarkets and greengrocers that we have. Then we've got my dad and my uncle. So we've got, two farms. They sort of look after one each. And then my auntie works with us, my mum works with us, and my brother. And one of my dad and uncle's cousins as well. So it's quite family orientated.
Family business. Awesome.
So it's called A.E. Cranwell and Sons.
Yes.
And you're obviously not a son.
No.
Do you see that changing? It's funny, we were talking about this on International Women's Day and talking about how a lot of the farming businesses have changed the name. What are your thoughts on that one?
I'm really proud of our name. A.E. Cranwell was my great-grandfather. So the sons are actually my great-great. So my son is my grandfather and his brother. So... I don't see a need to change it. I think I love the history that the name brings. So I'm quite happy with it. And I love being able to say I'm actually a great-great-granddaughter. So we can just extend the name.
And so what do you think you as a next generation grower are bringing into this, long line of growing? And where do you see the future of Brussels sprouts? You said that we've declined. There's now only 3 major growers in South Australia, in Australia, 2 of them being in South Australia, which is amazing. I had no idea. So where do you see the future? And is there, as a next generation, are you doing things differently to ensure that there is a future for sprouts?
My brother and I, we don't see ourselves going anywhere. So I think we'll probably be at Grandpa's age and still be growing sprouts. But there's such a trend, like you were saying before, with people being more inclined to have meat-free meals. So Brussels sprouts are turning up in popularity, so there's quite a demand there, but we're always looking at our growing techniques to make sure that they're sustainable and ensuring a future with what we're doing.
And technology has definitely changed since you've been a part of the growing family as well?
Yeah, massively, like putting in a lot of new equipment, whether that's in the packing shed or the growing side of things, just to improve growing practices and streamline things to make it quite a lot easier, especially less labour intensive as well.
And so where do you supply your Brussels sprouts to?
So we supply nationally to Woolies and Aldi. We also export a few as well. So you'll pretty much find our sprouts wherever you go in Australia.
Yeah, and of course they come through the South Australian produce market, and they are at all your independent picker, local picker, say stores. We do have some packages here, and because we're going to give away these beautiful Brussels sprouts so that you can try some at home. But let's talk sprouts. Marco, what about in the Italian culture? Do you use sprouts very much in your cooking, or do we need Erin to come up with some Italian recipes?
Yes, she should, because I didn't grow up eating them as much, and I don't think there's many recipes in our culture with cavolini di Bruxelles. That's how we call them. But I'm sure there's all kinds of salads that we can make. But I love the fact that we can use them for as a meat, just to substitute meat, which is great.
Yeah,
awesome.
I wonder if it would work in like a pasta.
Oh, 100%.
Yes,
100%.
So if you shred them and use them in a pasta.
Yeah, saute them up, get some flavour in them, or even get the baby ones, cut them in half.
That's a good idea, because I was talking to someone who didn't like them, and they said, yes, as long as you put lots of garlic in it.
Oh, well.
But I think anything with garlic in it will be fantastic. So, yeah. So thank you very much for coming. It's really interesting, and it is, it's great to know that South Australia supplies so many like this. 2 out of 3. And look how fresh they are. Like, Erin has literally picked this bush from,
It was like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah. In the Adelaide Hills. And people also don't know how they're grown. So I'm really glad that you brought that in, because people are surprised. They're kind of like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, how do they grow? They grow on a bush, and this is what they look like. You've obviously picked the leaves, so when it's out in the field, it's obviously a very leafy bush that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, I took a few leaves off, but they actually do fall off as well, depending on variety and stuff.
Yeah. And do you only grow the green ones, or are there other varieties?
Well, we grow probably 20 different varieties in a season to be able to have such a long season.
Oh, okay.
But no, I mean, I can tell a difference, but no one else really would. But you can get purple sprouts, but we mainly stick to the green.
Stick to the green ones. Well, there you go. Well, thank you so much for coming in to join us today.
Thank you.
Was really interesting. Now, for a lucky listener at home on Facebook or on 531 or on the app, if you call 8340-7700 when we go to the song, you can take home some sprouts, and we really want you to shred them and try them. Try them in your taco. Try them with the different seasoning. They're in season at the moment. They're growing just up in the Adelaide Hills. So it's a really good time to add them into your diet. So when you call in, we want to know, where is the Sprout Farm located?
Facile, 83407700. Salutiamo